The kind of Buzz Aldrin syndrome of thinking, blimey, I was in the Beatles. You know what I mean? How easy is it to not be in the Beatles once you've been in them?
Yeah. Well, the good thing was it wasn't my decision. The group broke up kind of thing. So it wasn't like as if, it was I'd said, I don't want to be in the Beatles. That might have been more difficult to deal with. Because I might have then said, I shouldn't have said that. So it was a fact anyway. So it was something I just had to get on with. My first reaction was to go back to square one and get into Wings and just go and tour like little university gigs, which we did, 50p on the door. And the university kids couldn't believe it. The Students' Union, we said, we got Paul McCartney outside in the van. He said, get away. But it was very difficult right after the breakup of the Beatles. It was almost impossible. It was like, I really felt I related to guys who were getting redundant, because a lot of that at the time, as there still is. But I really thought, I'm useless. I've suddenly lost all my use. It'd be like, if suddenly you lost this job. And, just for a few days, in my case, for a few weeks, it was like, what do I do now? Like, my only function in life is to be in the Beatles. And it was a bit shocking, So I sort of didn't get up for a few days and sort of, just didn't bother really. Just went a bit... But after a while, Linda started saying, well, you've done enough of that now. You better do something.
Better get another job.
Get out of the house and get a job, So I just started to gradually kind of get back into it. But since then, I've just kind of quite enjoyed the legacy of the Beatles. It's kind of, I can say to people, I was in them. Like you were telling me before, your mum took you when you were 2. And I can say, that's great. I've got a lot of stories off people like that. So I can enjoy all of that. Because the Beatles were so successful, we always kind of felt that we came full circle. And it was only about 10 years, the Beatles' career. But we went right from A to Z, and we didn't feel we could do much else. So I didn't kind of yearn for more Beatles.
No.
I think it would have been more difficult if I was kind of annoyed at people thinking of me as a Beatle. Oh, you're in the Beatles. I'm saying, no, I'm in Wings now. Or no, I'm a solo artist. Stop thinking of me that. But, I realised, like Charlie Chaplin, once you've been that famous, that's it. You can't unfamous that, So I actually just get into it. And I just enjoy other people's reactions. And I enjoyed the anthology just for looking back over it all,
Did you ever wish, though, or have you ever wished, even for a fleeting moment, I wish I'd been in Jerry and the Pacemakers. You know what I mean? I wish I'd been in... I'm quite happy to have been in a band and had all those good times to go to be in a band, but perhaps not the Beatles. It was,
you want a short answer to that?
Well, it's short or long as you like.
No. I really don't. No. Man, the Beatles was like a fantastic experience, I'm still amazingly proud of not only what we did, but how it's hung about. Because I think like a lot of what we did was musically good. Some people think that's big-headed, but it wasn't just me did it. So, we as a group, I think, did a lot of seriously good stuff. And it still sounds good, a lot of it. And the other interesting thing is you get so many bands, particularly now, who copy it. And who tribute it all the time. I mean, a month doesn't go by where there's some record called Beatlebum, so-and-so. There's one coming out, Prefab Sprout, I think, called Electric Guitar or something, tribute to the Beatles. And I love that. How could you not love that?
At this point on the show, usually, I ask for my guests to pick an album track that means a particular something to them. Now, I wonder if this is not too difficult a question. Beatles albums are poured over, and there isn't such thing as an unknown Beatles track. But is there an album track from a Beatles album that you think perhaps is tucked away somewhere that you really like and doesn't perhaps get not talked about as much as some of the classic Beatles records? Does anyone spring to mind?
Well, the one for me is not so much an album track, or it probably is on an album. It's You Know My Name, Look Up the Number.
Right.
Which is like a mad thing that took us years to do, because we could never be bothered finishing it. It originally came up with John came in with this thing, and he said, I've got a great song. So how's it go? He said, you know my name, look up the number. You know my name, look up the number. He said, yeah. How's it go on? He said, you know my name, look up the number. I said, whoa, John's lost it, But we found millions of little ways to do it. I was like, you know my name, like a cabaret singer. And then it was, you know my name, you know my number. It just got to be like a hilarious track to record, and we recorded it on lots of little occasions and eventually stuck it all together as a record. So that's a mad one. If you require like an album one, I suppose I'd choose something like Why Don't We Do It in the Road, which is a very mad track. But I loved it at the time. You know, so quick to do and so mad. It was like really out of left field or right field even. Yeah.
Are your recollections of the songs and the periods and the writing of them still very vivid and fresh in your mind? They seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, not all of them, you know. So, it was quite a hazy period, you know. But yeah, I've got quite a good recollection of most of them. Yeah, that one, Why Don't We Do It on the Road, was really we were in such a hurry to finish the White Album, what became known as the White Album, and we had a deadline, or we couldn't meet the release date, so we were like working frantically over the last weekend and stuff, and so we were actually split up in various studios. Some of the guys were in Studio 2 mixing one of the tracks, and I sort of waltzed off to Studio 3, I think it was, in Abbey Road, and just thought, well, I'll just record another little track while they're mixing that, you know. Right. So it was quite good memories, and it's a far out song.
It is indeed.
But well, so a friend of mine came up to me one day. He says, Paul, what does it mean, that track? I didn't have the heart to tell him.
That's It's Not Me from the Supergrass album, In It For The Money. And Sir Paul McCartney, it does seem a little formal if you don't mind.
It does, yeah.
That's Supergrass are one of a wave of groups who are thought of to be kind of Beatles-y. Yeah. In the sense, I mean, I don't think that particular track is, you know, it's not noticeably a Beatles template, but did you like that song?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What do you think about when bands these days, certainly in the last couple of years, from Oasis to, you know, Supergrass, people like that, very obviously bands have been influenced by the Beatles. Is that kind of a bit spooky, or is it sort of, you know, amusing and...
No, it's just good, really, because, you know, things could have gone the other way, where the only influence might have been something of the punk era, or they might have been highly influenced by the Rolling Stones or something. Yeah. So it's kind of good, really, just to think that it's the Beatles that, you know, because it was the Beatles then that were kind of streets above, in front of most people. Yeah. And it's strangely, it's kind of still like that now, you know. But I think it's great. I mean, I sometimes turn on the radio and think, oh, it's a Beatles track. And no, it's Oasis or something. Yeah. Because there's such an obvious take on it. They sing good, they play good. Yeah. They use all the same kind of instruments we used to use, same amps and everything. So it's like a time warp for me. Yeah. And it was interesting, you know, just see the same clothes coming back, the same instruments, same vocal sounds, same techniques, same kinds of songs. Yeah. So I think it's fine.
Did doing Anthology, I suppose it must have, by definition, made you go back and look at it all again? Was it a strange experience for you, having that kind of massive historical project about your own personal past?
Yeah, it was actually. It's like, it's bad enough looking at holiday videos of yourself, and you go, oh my God, did I do that? Or did I look like that? But it was good, but it was a little bit strange, a little bit like a massive home movie, you know. Yeah. But the funniest thing, really, was being in Abbey Road when we were selecting the takes originally. And just listening, looking at these old boxes, the old box, the tape boxes, and listening to these very early takes, and just actually, I was like worried I was going to make a mistake on the bass. You know, it took me right back to the very first time we sat there and listened, because it was George Martin, George and Ringo there. So I just actually thought, oh my God, no, I hope I'm going to... Someone just sort of said, no, don't worry, it's all okay. These have been hits.
You've done...
it's all right, you know. Right. Don't have to worry about these. But...
did you read... that just occurs to me, you mentioned that. Did you read Ian MacDonald's Revolution in the Head book?
Yeah, I saw bits of it, yeah.
What did you think of that?
Well, you know, it's like all those books. Some bits of them are great. Yeah. But then I'll read a page, it's just total bullshit. Right. And so it kind of spoils it for me, you know, because there's so many legends around these things that have grown up, and they're just not true. Not true. I mean, there's the meter maid, famous meter maid, who I never met. Oh, she might have given me a ticket once. Right. I certainly didn't write a song about her for that. But, you know, her name probably was called Rita or something, so they go, oh, she's a traffic warden. Right. Rita, meter maid, you know. Yeah. And they make it up, and the people, of course, go along with the stories. Oh, yes, I am Rita, I did meet him, and he did write a song about me. But... invariably, that's not really true, that stuff, you know. Yeah. That's why I did my new album.
Going back to now and Flaming Pie, I mean, you've toured relatively recently, and does that still something that really... do you still have a real appetite for that, for getting out onto stage?
Normally, the last tour you're talking about was kind of big. You know, it was 140 people with us on the road, and we were playing to one place in Brazil. We played like 184,000 one night. So, yeah, you know, those are fantastic evenings. It's a great evening, great crowd, you can imagine, you know. And it's good fun to do. You know, the first couple of weeks are always a little bit... I'm trying to remember all these lyrics, you know, because, you know, in the old days I would do maybe 20 minutes because then John would do another 20 minutes, and that was the show kind of thing. You know, I don't think we ever did 40 minutes, actually. We had shorter shows then.
Yeah.
But now, for value for money,
of course,
you do these 2-hour shows because the prices are all higher and that. So I find myself singing for 2 hours, trying to remember 2 hours worth. It's like 2 very long Shakespeare plays. Or anybody plays. It's a hell of a lot of words to remember. But after a couple of weeks, it just comes, you get on autopilot, and then you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I still forget them anyway.
You forget, even classic Beatles songs.
Yeah, you see, people think, oh, you wrote them, you must remember them, and of course they remember them. People in the audience know them better than I do. But you've got to remember, okay, I wrote them and recorded them, but I haven't played them every day since.
Yeah.
I don't pull them out periodically. I'm getting on with, like, my new album.
Well, you must be very pleased with the initial reactions to Flaming Pie. It's got, in terms of one thing, just it's sold, but also in the nice things people have said about it. Although, are you at a point where you think, I can't, I don't care about it?
It is good. No, I do care,
And what will you... I mean, I know Flaming Pie is current and will remain current, but will you now think, I'll now amass more songs, and when I feel like putting another album out, I will? How will your thinking be about that? Is that how it'll work?
That's the kind of idea, yeah. I've already started, I've already got a couple of songs that... Because I say, if you're a writer and you do it for your own fun, you can't dictate when a good idea is going to come up. But there's no hurry, obviously, because I've only just got this one out.
Of course. Stay in the poll for just a little while. I'll be talking again to you in just a moment. My guest tonight has been Paul McCartney. Thank you very much for coming by.
It's been a pleasure.
It's very nice of you to do that. And Flaming Pie, as I say again, has been so well received and commercially and critically that must be very buoyant. So you're generally in a very buoyant mood at the moment?
In a buoyant girl mood. Very nice. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. It's, as you say, the album's gone down well, so I'm just having fun.
Right. And I did ask you if you would, while those records are on, to choose a cover version of one of your own songs that you particularly liked. And as you said, there's been so many. I mean, your songs must have been covered more than... I'm sure this is in the Guinness Book of Records, isn't it? Have you been covered...
More than Soft Mick.
More than that well-known songwriter, Soft Mick.
Yeah, there's a lot of cover versions, which is great, and I don't mind any of them, even the Danish steam organ playing I Want to Hold Your Hand.
They're my particular favourites, actually.
They're really good, some of them, actually. But, if I had to choose one, Eleanor Rigby was done by Ray Charles, and he did a really nice funky little version of it because I love old Ray, and so I'd choose that. Ray Charles, Eleanor Rigby.
We'll hear that in due course, and again, thank you very much for coming by, Paul McCartney.
Okay, thanks, and see you, listeners.